Hi, I'm Cheryl Waters, and you are listening to KEXP Live at Home. And I've got our great friend Lucy Dacus here with us today. Hi, Lucy.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
Oh, my goodness, always. It is so wonderful to see you. And I feel almost like I was at Newport Folk Festival. I wish I was. I saw all the activity online this weekend. You and Adia Victoria and Haley Hendricks and Katie Crutchfield of Waxahachie and Kevin Morby and so many more. And posting photos online. Rolling Stone said your performance was one of the best things at the festival this year. It looked like such a joyous, good time. Are you just still vibrating from playing live music and being around your fellow artists?
Yeah, I'm readjusting to the chaos of it all. Like just having to move super quick and then do this thing that's from the heart and then just be done. I don't know, the pacing of it all. I feel like all my muscles have atrophied and I'm not used to it, but it's hitting me fresh, which is really nice. The first day actually at Newport, the last half of the day got rained out. And so me and a bunch of friends just raided the hospitality and went and watched the sunset. And it was really nice. I think I liked that even better than the festival. Love the festival, but that was a very special moment.
Well, it must have been nice to have things slow down a little bit as a pace because you talk about everything, your muscles atrophying, and I'm finding that after the past year and a half, my mind is a very powerful muscle that has atrophied, and it's really hard to build that muscle up, and I'm having to do that slowly and persistently, and I get so exhausted from all the social interaction that I'm so eager to start having again. Are you feeling that as well?
Yeah, I've been getting really tired really fast. I'm so into it. I'm so into seeing people that I've missed and meeting new people. But the past couple days, I have been out and about and gotten so tired that I've almost crumpled to the ground. I'm just not paying attention to what my body actually needs, which is sleep. So yeah, I've been taking cat naps throughout the day.
Well, hopefully you will take note and start taking care of yourself because I look at your schedule and you are going almost nonstop into 2022. It's got to be so exciting to see that list of shows and all the wonderful people that you're going to be playing with. Barty Strange, Bachelor, Shamir, Julian Baker, Tomberlin, Waxahachie, Fen Lily, Bright Eyes, Ela Bamba, all my faves. And so you definitely are going to need to pace yourself. I hope that you have a plan in mind for making sure you stay very centered and calm.
I'm also very stoked to play with all those people. It's a bunch of my favorite musicians. So that is awesome. The plan is kind of what I've been doing for the past couple years anyways, which is I don't speak for the first couple hours of the day. And I try not to speak for the last couple hours of the day either. I don't always do it, but I always feel vocally way better and also just state of mind, I don't know, just more at peace when I'm able to do that. I highly recommend it.
Was the original inspiration to do that to protect your voice, and then you kind of found that it helped you in a meditative quality, or vice versa, or both?
Yeah, I had a vocal injury in June of 2019 and had to be silent for all of July 2019, fully silent. And I learned a lot from that. Some lessons were harder than others. And it sometimes felt fun, like a game, and at other times it was an existential crisis. Just realizing oh, conversations just can happen without me. I don't need to exist. But yeah, it's been nice to realize how useful silence is, and listening to yourself is such a good skill. Like I said, I'm not doing it that well right now, but when I make time to be silent, it's much easier.
I'm a very social person, but I live alone and I also crave silence. And over years, I've discovered how valuable it is for me. And I'm always very careful to make sure that I create space for that. And I know that it's helped me a lot, even if I have to say no to some things. And luckily, I don't suffer from FOMO because I know that life always has great experiences ahead for me. But I think it took sort of age and experience to get to that place.
That's awesome. That's a really good mentality. I got to remember that. I get FOMO sometimes, but it's true that like the next awesome thing is going to happen.
Absolutely. You've got so much ahead of you. This new record home video is so tender and so beautiful, and you've recorded some gorgeous songs for KEXP. Thank you so much for that. 3 of them come from the new album, which came out on June 25th, and you and your band, which includes your mom as a guest on a song from your back catalog, sound fantastic. And you look so happy in these videos and gorgeous, and I don't mean to sound superficial, but I'm loving your hair these days, and especially what you're doing and all the promo with it. Can you introduce the performers that I want to share a couple of songs, but can you introduce the performers that we're going to see?
Sure. We have Dominic Angelella on bass, Ricardo Lagomasino on drums, Jacob Blizard playing the guitar, and Sarah Goldstone playing keys, and then my mom, Sandy Dacus, tried and true, on My Mother and I.
Well, we're going to see Sandy a little bit later, but right now, let's watch Brando and Hot and Heavy. Those are 2 songs from the new album home video from Lucy Dacus live on KEXP at home. Enjoy.
You told me to skip school to go with you to the movies. You knew you were uncool, but you thought you could fool me. They play oldies in the afternoon for the elderly, and me and you, Fred and Ginger, black and white. I've watched you watch It's a Wonderful Life. Me cerebral, I didn't know what you meant, but now I do. Would it have killed you to call me pretty instead? I'm in a second-story window and you're yelling at me, Stella, and I'm laughing 'cause you think you're Brando, but you'll never come close. All I need for you to admit is that you never knew me like you thought you did. You never knew me like you thought you did, like you thought you did. You say here's looking at you, kid, thinking I wouldn't understand the reference. You admit you think we're faded. I'll be lucky if I'm your 3rd wife. That's only something you would say in a car. We've been breathing the same air for too long. If the snow wasn't coming down so hard, I would open the door and walk home. It's only a couple miles. What could go wrong? If I hitch a ride with a guy in a pickup who doesn't know left from right from wrong. All I need for you to admit is that you never knew me like you thought you did. You never knew me like you thought you did, like you thought you did. All I need for you to admit is that you never knew me like you thought you did. You never knew me like you thought you did, like you thought you did. Being back here makes me hot in the face. Hot blood in my pulsing veins. Heavy memories weighing on my brain. Hot and heavy in the basement of your parents' place. You used to be so sweet. Now you're a firecracker on a crowded street. Couldn't look away even if I wanted. Try to walk away, but I come back to the start. Led me to the floor, even though I'm not a dancer. Ask me all the questions that your parents wouldn't answer. How could I deny a diamond in the rough? You let me in your world until you had enough. You knew that I wanted you to bend the rules. How did I believe I had a hold on you? You were always stronger than people suspected, underestimated and overprotected. When I went away, it was the only option. Couldn't trust myself to proceed with caution. The most that I could give to you is nothing at all. The best that I could offer was to miss your calls. Being back here makes me hot in the face. Hot blood in my pulsing veins. Heavy memories weighing on my brain. Hot and heavy in the basement of your parents' place. You used to be so sweet. Now you're a firecracker on a crowded street. Couldn't look away even if I wanted. Try to walk away, but I come back to the start. And it happens over and over and over and over again. Over and over and over and over again. I wish I was over it, over it, over it, over it. A hidden gem, my own gold mine. You had wide and wild eyes. You were a secret to yourself. You couldn't keep from anyone else. Now you're the biggest, brightest flame. You are a fire that can't be tamed. You're better than ever, but I knew you when. It's bittersweet to see you again.
You're listening to Lucy Dacus live on KEXP at home. And Lucy, would it be accurate to say that your new album home video is a window into your coming of age years in Richmond, Virginia?
Yeah, I'd say so. They're definitely all like based in like the 7 to 17-year-old range.
Well, you've talked about being a journaler since you were very young and about revisiting your diaries from that time during the writing process of home video. And it sounds like you culled extensively from actual home videos from your childhood. And I imagine that imprinted some very strong imagery in your mind. I'm wondering, did you sit down and go through those journals and home videos as you were writing these songs, or were you pulling mostly from memories?
Mostly from memories. I would start with the memory and then I would cross-reference with the journals or the videos, because it's kind of like the memory is a whole different thing and it changes over time. But like the videos and the journals are like primary source documents. And so the songs were sort of like an amalgamation of the memory and like the facts of what actually happened. the most surprising thing was realizing how little insight I had in the moment and how like I kind of trust my memory more than what I thought at the time that things were happening. You'd think that the journals would be the most true, but I kind of think that like waiting and having insight like puts it into a perspective that feels more true to me now.
Well, you clearly hold a lot of empathy for your younger self. Was it difficult to achieve that kind of kindness and understanding?
Yeah, I think that the hardest thing to get rid of was embarrassment. Like not really shame. Like I think that like I still relate to how embarrassed I was when I was younger, like just not knowing who I was and trying to figure it out and kind of like wearing different ideas of who I was, and some definitely didn't fit. But that's what everybody has to do. I think like most of the time if you're embarrassed about something, everyone else is too, or like most people are. So you can like take solace in the fact that like everybody goes through it.
I think self-consciousness is a universal feeling that everyone feels at that young age. And so many people say, I'd never want to go back and live, my youth or my 20s. But if I ever did, the only thing I'd want is to have more confidence, in myself, although then I'd be the only one who had that, and I'd probably feel really isolated. But you've said that you can't hide behind generalizations or fiction anymore, and you've admitted that that makes you ache. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, for one, I'll say, like, I think being self-conscious has to come before you're self-aware. So it's like, you have to do it. But then, yeah, I think that I've been keeping myself from writing better songs because I haven't wanted to include details that make it very close to my own life. Like I've been writing from my own experiences, and like people have been calling me confessional, I guess, from the beginning. But I've tried to generalize those experiences so more people could relate to them, or like the people in my life wouldn't see themselves in the songs. And this time around, I just didn't think about that. And it has been hard, like reckoning in my personal life, like figuring out how these songs change the life that I live, and the relationships with the people that they're about. It's tough. But I think I'm going to keep doing it because it feels like worth it and it feels honest. And I feel like I'm not in denial as much. And I think the songs are better than they used to be.
Well, you're right. I mean, revisiting these experiences from those years has to be intensely personal. And while your previous songs evoked a nostalgia, you're definitely leaning into things a lot more in home video. And are those fears and apprehensions something you feel that you're able to easily move through, or do you have to really work on it?
I would say, like, it feels like neither. Like, it's not easy and it's not a lot of work. It kind of feels like I accidentally just started doing this and now I'm reckoning with it. So it's like, it didn't take effort to begin doing this, but it's taking effort to reconcile it, if that makes sense. But in general, like, I think that, like, the work of making sense of your life is like work worth doing.
You write about such rich characters in your music, and on a number of songs, and off the top of my head, I'm thinking of Hot and Heavy and Cartwheel, you wrote the song with someone else in mind, but over time, I read that you came to realize that those songs were written about or for yourself. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, I think that I can't really look at myself straight. Like, do you know those seeing eye books where you have to like get really close to the paper in order to see the image?
Yeah.
that's like kind of how it feels when I try to like get to know myself, where it's like I kind of have to see it out of the corner of my eye. But I feel like I love to look at other people and learn about like the human experience, I guess, or like I like to see myself in other people. It's easier to see myself that way. So I'll start by like talking about a character, about a friend, and realize like what I have to learn about myself from that. Yeah, it's been pretty cool. It makes me feel like I get to know myself better, and like because I love whatever friend I'm talking about, it's like makes me feel more lovable in a way, because I'm like, oh, we share that trait and I love that about them, so I can like that about me too.
Well, and I'm always so curious about the conversations that artists have with the subject of their creations. The album came out only a month ago, but have you had any conversations with the subjects of your songs?
Yes. Well, before I even recorded, I showed the people that Christine and Thumbs are about the songs, because I would have changed the songs if they were uncomfortable with anything, or just wouldn't have recorded them because they felt so specific. And I value those friendships more than like the songs themselves. Since the record's come out, I guess I'll say that the guy from Brando hit me up and he wasn't happy about it, but we talked for a really long time, and I think it's worth mentioning that there was a lot that was good about that friendship. And you know, I was writing a song about someone, but it also is like a song, so I like the character lives outside of who he actually was, and it's representing like one aspect. People contain multitudes. Yeah, I think that he kind of mentioned that it felt like reductive to look at that one part of who he is. So I felt bad about that, but I think it's a funny song. I think it's a cute and funny song, and I think talking about it, he kind of got to admit the humor of it as well.
It must be interesting conversations, and you're right. I mean, it's a slice of life. It's a piece of your experience, and the record feels so much to me like a record about friendship with others, certainly, but also with yourself. And you've hinted that these songs might be difficult for you to perform due to their personal nature and the connection to the subjects. Do you need to mentally prepare yourself to play these?
Yeah. I don't know how. I feel like I usually pre-plan my emotions, but it's been so much harder with this record. I don't feel as composed. It feels like a lot more raw in a way that maybe like viewers really like, or like at the shows, you know, everybody secretly wants to watch you cry. But I don't want to cry. Like, I'm not trying to do that at a show. So yeah, I'm actually like on tour right now and have played a couple shows, and it is like extremely emotional, not only because of the songs, but like for a lot of people, these are the first shows that they're going to since like 2019. So it feels like very significant and a little bit dreamlike. Like, it doesn't quite feel like reality. So yeah, I think I'll just do it more and just get used to it.
Yeah, emotions are just going off like firecrackers. I mean, all over the place right now. And it's good to release those emotions. So I hope your fans and your listeners are crying, you know, and getting those emotions out. And it's just nice to share that emotion, that experience with someone. I loved watching these videos. They're so beautiful. I want to watch a couple more, but can you tell me a little bit about this session and where you made it and what the experience was like? Had you been playing with your band a lot up until this point? Obviously recorded the songs, and I know you'd had a few shows. I know you had one at Red Rocks in June. What a great way to come out of the gates post-pandemic.
Yeah, so believe it or not, we recorded them in March, like before the record was even announced, I think. Because of COVID, we wanted to like film everything, just film a bunch of things one time with one crew that got tested all at once and kind of like have a pod. And so this is like the first time that we played a lot of these songs through as a band. And we hadn't done any live shows. And actually Sarah is like new to the band. So it's like the first time she's performing with us at all. And she's great. So yeah, they're special to me in that I'm glad to hear you say that. So it's going to be cool to see if things change, now that the record's out and we have been playing live. Like, I wonder if it'll feel any different in like future recorded performances, but it feels like very like in the nascent, like baby stages in these videos.
Well, they're so beautiful, and I'd love to share a couple more. Here's something from your 2019 series, My Mother and I, and then one of my although I have a new favorite every week, from the new album, VBS. It's Lucy Dacus live on KEXP at home.
So this is my mom, Sandy Dacus. She's going to sing with me for this song called My Mother and I. My mother hates her body. We share the same outline. She swears that she loves mine. A blur at the edges. I'm all soft shapes and lines, shape-shifting all the time. The stars have a lot to say about babies born in the month of May. We are down to earth. We see eye to eye. We dig our feet in, my mother and I. My mother and I. They call me an old soul when I was too young to know the difference between a soul and a ghost. I feared what was inside, trapped in my body, kept from the other side. A spirit searching for a second life. The stars have a lot to say about women born in the month of May. We want love, warm and forever. We want to die in the presence of our loved ones. she has given, all I have taken, all is forgiven, all is forsaken. Good job, Mom. In the summer of '07, I was sure I'd go to heaven, but I was hedging my bets at VBS. A preacher in a t-shirt told me I could be a leader, taught me how to build a fire and to spread the word. In the evening, everybody went to worship, and we, hands above our heads, reaching for God. Back in the cabin, snorting nutmeg in your bunk bed, you were waiting for a revelation of your own. Sedentary secrets like peach pits in your gut, locked away like jam jars in the cellar of your heart, waiting to be tasted and ultimately wasted. You were gonna win me over from the start. Your poetry was so bad, it took a lot to not laugh. You say that I showed you the light, but all it did in the end was make the dark feel darker than before. Dad keeps his sleeves down through the summer for a reason. Your mother wears her makeup extra thick for a reason. When I tell you you were born and you are here for a reason, you are not convinced the reason is a good one. While you're falling to sleep, your mind keeps you awake, and it makes your heart beat fast and loud. There's nothing you can do, but the only thing you found, playing the Slayer at full volume, helps to drown it out. The poetry was so bad, it took a lot to not laugh. You say that I showed you the light, but all it did in the end was make the dark feel darker than before. Dark feel darker than before. Dark feel darker than before.
You're listening to Lucy Dacus live on KEXP at Home. Lucy, I read an article where you said, as soon as I wrote these songs, I was like, that's it. I'm finally able to say what I needed to say. Tell me more about that.
I think that part of like growing up is being able to say what happened yourself. You know, being able to like look back and say like, okay, my childhood is over and I get to say what it meant and I get to tell the stories. Because for so much of your childhood, your parents are telling you like, oh, you did this or you're this type of person. And so I wrote a lot of these songs in like 2017, 2018. And I feel like my childhood is over. Like I'm an adult. And I don't know, it is my life. And it felt like being able to do that like took more effort than I expected it to just like retell stories from my perspective. I feel like I have my whole life been thinking about other people's perspective and like trying to be respectful, I guess, of other people's opinions, but I think that kind of like overshadowed my own opinion for a long time. So yeah, it was like pretty profound to just say what happened from my perspective.
One of the stories that you tell on this new record is about your religious upbringing, and I didn't know about VBS until I heard the lyrics. I didn't know what that was. I thought it stood for Virginia something school, and I have a friend who knew exactly what it meant, so it's definitely experience many of your fans can relate with. Can you pinpoint a catalyst for your transformation from the Christianity that you experienced in your youth to the beliefs that you hold now?
Yeah. There wasn't like a moment. I think that I was so interested in like the history of Christianity, and I started to like learn more about like how the Bible was actually written and how there are all these books that just aren't included anymore and how the language has been changed over time. And so the original message isn't even what people learn. And like original Hebrew or Aramaic words had different meanings than what they are in English now. So basically like it became more varied, and basically like so much possibility came in that like I had this faith that kept growing and growing and growing until there wasn't really a definition of it anymore. So it wasn't like I just stopped believing in God. It's that like God became so much like outside of what Christianity is, or what any sort of like doctrine would be. And so I stopped like, I guess, assigning myself to any particular doctrine. And I still think about like spirituality and religion a lot, and just basically the effort to live well and die well, and like how to treat each other. Like that's kind of the crux of all religions. So I think about it a lot, but I'm not a Christian anymore.
I imagine that experience in your song speaks to a lot of your fans. Have you had any conversations around this with any of them?
It's funny, like I've only played 4 shows total on this record. But I'll be like, did anyone go to Vacation Bible School? And like, you know, maybe a fifth of the crowd will be like, yeah. And I'll be like, okay, this is for you. And so I haven't really gotten to talk to people, but I feel like there's this innate understanding of that setting. Because like you said, like you didn't know, you don't know. If you know, you know. It probably has stuck with you your whole life because it's a really odd scenario. Like summer camp, but God. And I think that, you know, there are varying degrees of bad. Like I went to some that were basically just summer camp and singing hymns, and there were others that were teaching me really bad lessons, you know, like hateful or just like totally off base sort of things. So yeah, haven't even had the time to talk about it, but there's a lot to talk about.
I love that your mom joined in on the session. She has such a beautiful voice, and My Mother and I is such a powerful song. I felt a little bit like I met your mother here, and I did get a chance to meet your dad when Boy Genius performed in Seattle, and he flew out to see that show. It
he would
feels
want me
like
to
they're
say hi,
both
by
so.
the way.
Well, tell him I said hi.
He asked about you. He's like, so now how's Cheryl doing? I think he feels really cool that he got to meet you.
Oh my gosh, that's great. Well, your dad seems so cool, and it sounds like they're so supportive of you, both of them, and that you're proud of them. I know your mom's a music teacher, and I saw you post on Instagram bragging about your dad skateboarding when he was young, and I have to say, those pictures were sick. He was so good.
Yeah.
Does he hop on a board at all now, even just to tool around town?
No, he's onto the battery bike thing. Like the assisted, so he'll just like ride for miles and miles and miles and then like kick on the battery if he needs a break, take it off, ride the bike. But he's an active dude. He's pretty cool.
Well, tell him I said hi. It was super fun to meet him, and I know that he goes out to tons of your shows. Your parents seem so fun, and they both clearly love music, which has got to be great for you.
Yeah, for sure.
You just performed VBS for us, and we were just talking about it. And again, I love that song so much, and the video of that is so gorgeous. Can you tell me about the artists that you worked with? And I know who did some of the other artwork on the album.
Yeah, so the production team's called Spang TV, and we did all of this in Richmond. It feels very special to me to bring in like people that are from Richmond. And actually the cinematographer and editor is this guy, David Muessig, that I went to middle school with. And then Marin Leong is the art director for this whole album rollout, and she took the photo that's the album cover. She did all the illustration and design on the inside of it, and she co-directed the video, and she's making some merch that isn't out yet, and she can kind of do anything. She's actually on the road with me now, just hanging out. And we've known each other since we were like 14, I think.
Oh, wow.
So again, like lassoing people that I love into the mechanism is like very rewarding for me.
I love that. And I love you supporting the Richmond community. Did I hear that you moved to Philadelphia?
Yeah, I did like 2 months before lockdown.
And what's that transition been like, especially through the lockdown?
It's been really good. I really love Philly. I've never lived in another place, so I was starting to worry that I would never, and also that I couldn't, like that I relied on Richmond. So it's kind of just like a, let's see if I can do this process, but it's been really good. I have a lot of friends there that do music, but also don't do music, and so that's cool to come home from tour and like hear about the art community or the activism community or the literary community like that. That's very fun.
I've been blowing up expanding your Instagram photos to get book ideas because you've been posting some of the stuff that you've been reading throughout the pandemic. So thank you for that. I know you're a voracious reader, as am I.
I love that. Giving people book recommendations is like my favorite thing to do. Like when people will friends will text me and be like, what should I read next? And I'm like, okay, tell me, what are you in the mood for? Like, what did you last read? It's very fun.
I love to do that too. And when I was younger and I would lend books out, I would try to keep track of who had them so I could get them back. But very long ago, I just ascribed to read and release and just get them out there in the world. So I'm always passing books back and forth with friends.
If I really love a book, I will like have my copy, lend it out, eventually just buy another copy, lend it out, buy another one, and just like basically vend the book.
Same. Mm-hmm. Well, Lucy, bless you for doing this interview in the beginning and midst of such a busy schedule. It's always such a pleasure to connect with you. I love the new record so much, and I loved watching these videos. You and the band sound great. I can't wait to see you in person, and you're pretty much going near everyone's town. The tour is very extensive. And can you describe what the live show is going to be like or what they've been like?
We're figuring out like production stuff, but we want it to be a little fancier than it has been, which is out of my wheelhouse. I kind of just like to set up and play and just have it be mostly about the songs. So I don't know for sure, but these songs are way more fun to play than, I mean, touring has been fun. I'm not going to like discredit all the old music, but there's so many moments that are really fun to recreate live. Like the auto tune from Partner in Crime is really fun. I play the solo in that, which is really fun. The loud
I want
part
to
of
just
BBS.
interrupt and say how much I love Partner in Crime and love the auto tune on there. And I was wondering, are you going to try to recreate that live?
Yep. It's so much fun. It's like, it's just way different than the rest of the set. And it feels fun. It feels like, you know, it didn't need to happen that way, but it did. Like just for the sake of the sound. Yeah, so I don't know. I think that it'll be similar to shows, but maybe a little. I'm trying to make the step up. You know, like if more people are coming to the shows, I'm trying to like basically like respect the fact that like people are going to be looking at me and give them something good to look at.
Well, it'll be neat for you to have new experiences and new challenges as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, again, the new record home video, so beautiful. Thank you for that gift to all of us and for this beautiful session and conversation with KEXP.
Yeah, thanks, Cheryl.
It's Lucy Dacus live on KEXP at home. Thanks to all of our wonderful listeners for supporting KEXP and making sessions like this possible. And we'll see you next time. Bye, Lucy.
Bye.
Discover new music at listener-powered KEXP.org.